Hello, my money-making friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Scottie Taylor Jr. podcast. We're talking all success, money, and mindset. And today's episode is exciting for me because this is one of those episodes where when I create it, I almost create it for myself. I create a lot of episodes really for myself that are things that I would want to hear, but this one specifically is something that I consistently work on, consistently shift on, and the topic is needy or desperate energy. And so in this episode, I'm going to share with you 6 ways to shift out of and really just completely eliminate needy and or desperate energy. Now, this can be in business, this can be in personal life, in relationships. That needy, desperate energy that we feel of like, oh, I need this person to say yes, or I want this person to respond to my text message, or whatever it is. That is just super repellent to the universe. That is like repellent energy. Think of it like insect repellent, but for the things that you want. So I'm going to share with you 6 ways of shifting out of that. So without further ado, let's get right on into the episode. So I mentioned it in the intro, but the idea of like this needy or desperate energy is inherently repellent to the universe. And the easiest way of kind of really like believing that is thinking about somebody that is in your life or has been in your life who was like really needy, right? I'm talking about like maybe it's somebody you went on a first date with and they texted you like 10 times afterward and they were like, oh my God, I love you. You're so amazing. And you're just like, whoa, like you just feel like, oh, okay, love overboard. Or maybe there is somebody in your life currently who's just a very needy person. And it's a very repellent energy. So like if you're like, oh, I really want this client to call me back, and you keep like sending that energy out there, like people pick up on that. And so I'm going to come at this from a professional perspective, from like a business minded perspective, because that's what I really want this podcast to be, is really more of a business podcast to help you achieve your next level of success, getting you to 7 figures, all that good stuff. But this absolutely will apply to your personal life. And these 6 different strategies, some will be more applicable than others in personal life. But the idea here is we want to get rid of whatever it might be called like commission breath. So if you're in insurance, if you are an insurance salesperson and you're like in the conversation with somebody and you're like, oh, I got to get them to say yes. Or if you're in any type of like service or sales based position, it doesn't even have to be insurance, but commission breath is typically like it's the insurance way of saying it, but it could be in any type of sales, right? Where you want the person to, your hope is that the person will say yes, but you have that energy of like, I don't just want them, I need them to say yes. Like I got bills to pay, I got shit to do. Like I need them to say yes, that like desperate, needy energy. And I wanted to start the episode by sharing that that is an inherently universally repellent energy, so that if you feel it, you're like, okay, yes, I do want to shift this. I do want to get out of this energy, not just because it feels crappy, not just number one, because you're like, I don't really like this feeling. First and foremost, like I hate that feeling when I feel that, but more so because from a practical business perspective, it'll actually help you increase your sales. So if we can eliminate the needy energy, it'll actually, and you replace it with more confident, knowing, sureness, you're like, well, duh. Of course, people are going to sign up. Of course, people are going to say yes. Like, why wouldn't they say yes? Like, if you can replace that needy energy with that one of confidence and knowingness, you're going to see your sales increase and you're going to be happier. Period. End of story. So let's dig into it. And these are going to be very tactical and energetic ways of clearing needy energy. And the first one is probably the most impactful. So I'm going to give it away right up front. I mean, all 6 are very impactful and I love all of them. But number 1 is probably the most tactically relevant. And the answer is to stop focusing on the outcome and instead focus on activities. So as an advisor, as a financial advisor, or again, replace this with service-based entrepreneur, sometimes what happens is we think about the person saying yes, right? The person saying yes to your recommendations, whether it's insurance, investments, fee-based planning, annuities, it doesn't matter what it is. We think of the person saying yes, or the people saying yes. And when we think about the outcome, then we're very much focused on something that is outside of our control. You cannot control what other people say or do. You can, however, control your activities or your actions. And so if you're focusing on the end result, I want this person to say yes. I want this person to say yes. I put together such a good plan. They really have to say yes. Like, I need the money. If you focus on the end result, you're going to feel suffering. If you focus on the things that you can control, like activities or actions, then you will feel at peace. So for example, if I'm in this podcast and I'm working with people and I have sales calls this week, something I can't control is whether or not somebody says yes. I had somebody sign up for my signature program this morning. I had no ability to control that. I emailed him the link on Friday. He signed up this morning. I had no way of controlling that. I had somebody else who I talked to on Friday who I thought was 100% going to join, and he emailed back and said, let's do this in Q1. I had no control over either of those. I had no control over one person saying yes, one person saying no. That's just what happens in business. But I did have control over creating this podcast. So I spent the entire morning writing out my to-do list. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see I have my to-do list here. If you're listening to it on podcast, then just know that there is a blank piece of paper that has my to-do list on it. Well, it's not blank. It's my to-do list. But I call it my to manifest list. So I have all the things that I'm going to focus on today. I had email outreach. I had creation of 3 podcasts. I had multiple things that I focused on today. And so by focusing on the activities, not on the outcomes, I was able to feel a sense of peace and control and calmness, because it's not about the outcome, it's about the activities. And we know, and I was sharing with my partner Joe earlier today, like I just found it very interesting that this one person signed up who had actually ghosted me. Like, we actually had a meeting scheduled on Friday, and I never get ghosted. Like, I never have people just no-show meetings. I mean, in his defense, there was a medical emergency in his family, so I'm obviously very understanding of that, but I hadn't heard from him. So I was like, okay, this, doesn't really bode well. Whereas the other person, we connected, it was a great conversation. And I was like, yeah, he sounds like he's very much on board and he's ready to go. And then we had a regroup scheduled today, and he ended up saying, hey, I want to wait, a couple months. Side note, I'm digging into that with him, right? I'm like, hey, what is waiting going to do for you? But again, the intention is not to control his outcome. The intention is to control what I can control, which is digging deeper if he chooses to go deeper with me. But regardless, I got to focus on my activities. So my activities for getting people inside of my programs are creating more podcast episodes, doing my launches, creating my webinars, my master classes, sending out emails, calling people. I can control that. And so that's what I do control, and that's what I focus on. And so my point in saying that is it's a numbers game. Not every single person will say yes to anybody, just how it is. But can I get more runs at bat? Can I focus on more of the front end activities, which is ultimately what I teach inside of my program, the Financial Advisor Academy. How do you get more prospects? How do you get more leads? If I focus on more leads, I don't have to focus so much on the end result, because I know this is a system, it's a process. Like, there are ratios that will hold true. I can work on increasing the ratios, but not every single person is going to say yes, period, end of story. I might have a very good close rate, but not every single person will always say yes. And I need to lean into the fact that some people will say no, some people will say yes. And because of that, I focus on the activities, bringing in more people in the door. And that releases a lot of the needy or desperate energy, because I'm focusing on the things that are within my control versus the things that are outside of my control. Tip number 2, second way to clear desperate and or needy energy is to meditate. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools to eliminate feelings of resentment, anger, frustration. And the interesting thing about meditation is that meditation in and of itself doesn't cure, so to speak. It doesn't cure any feelings of resentment or anger or frustration or needy or desperate energy. But what meditation does do, and the way I describe it and the way I think about it, is my mind and our minds can be like snow globes. When you shake up a snow globe, there's shit flying everywhere. There's lots of thoughts and ideas in your brain. And if you have children, if you have dogs, if you have a partner, even if you're single, like, you're still dealing with so much information and data every single day. You're constantly processing data. And our mind has this amazing ability to process data, but there's also a lot happening in there. And my belief is that all of us are naturally predisposed to being happy. I believe that our inner guidance system is guiding us to be happy all the time. However, and my spiritual mentor, Abraham Hicks, describes it this way: when we are thinking negative thoughts, it's like we're taking a cork, like a bottle cork, and we're holding it underwater. So the cork wants to float to the surface, but we're holding it underwater with negative thoughts. And so what meditation does is it quiets your mind, right? It doesn't stop all thought, but it slows thought down. What happens when thought slows down? Well, when thought slows down, negative thoughts slow down. So when negative thoughts slow down, then you're releasing the cork energetically, metaphorically, and it floats back up to the surface, and it can be replaced with more positive feeling thoughts, which are, I believe, more intrinsic to us as humans. The negative thoughts are just more of a pattern that we typically observe or live in because the news and people complain, and that's like how humans are. They're very social creatures like that. But I don't believe that that's our natural inclination is to complain. I just think that's a pattern of thinking and a pattern of behavior. So step number 2 is meditate. So if you feel yourself going into a meeting and you're like getting like, oh, I need this person to say yes, I need this person to close, like you're feeling any type of needy or desperate energy, my encouragement is to meditate. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just take time to meditate. This can be a walking meditation. You can go on a bike ride. You can walk your dog. You can, walk your baby. You can walk yourself. Like, I mean, preferably you're doing it alone with headphones on and you're listening to a meditation. And for all of you out there that are like maybe new to meditation or need resources, pop on YouTube, type in 10-minute meditation in the search bar, and you will find a meditation that you can listen to. If you don't feel like you have that much time, then do a 5-minute meditation. That still sometimes works for me. I find myself more willing to do a 5-minute meditation sometimes because I'm like, oh, it's only 5 minutes, Scottie. Like you can take 5 minutes. A 10-minute meditation, I'm like, oh, do I really have 10 minutes? Like I want to get going. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like hell no, not going to happen. That being said, the 10-minute, 30-minute meditations are sometimes more beneficial because they really get you into that state of receptivity and calmness. But if you feel any type of negative or needy energy, that would be my second recommendation. My third recommendation, third tip, third strategy, tip, tool in order to clear desperate or needy energy is to have a vision for where you're going instead of looking at the past. So when I look at the past, I look at the people that said yes, the people that said no. When I'm constantly looking at what has happened, it's very hard for me to, in the moment, feel like I am moving towards what it is that I want because I'm not looking at what it is that I want. And there's a lot of suffering that can be had when we're looking at what is, if what is isn't what we want. So if I look at my calendar, I'm thinking, oh, I wish I had more meetings. And I just keep looking at my calendar. I wish I had more meetings. I wish I had more meetings. Oh, I didn't call enough people last week. I didn't do this last week. What's going to happen? I'm going to stay in a state of perpetual suffering, of misery that I'm self-inflicting instead of stepping into joy, excitement, happiness, possibility by focusing on what's possible, by focusing on my vision. So step number 3 is pretty easy. It's really just focusing on your vision. Write down your vision. What is it that you want? What do you want in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months? That, what I kind of think of it metaphorically, like I'm in a field and I'm just like coming down with a giant hand from the heavens and I'm plucking myself up. I'm pulling myself up to the heavens so I can see everything below and be like, oh, I got it. I now have an eagle eye perspective or vantage point of the things in my life that I want. And so I'm not stuck in the weeds. I don't feel like I'm like, well, this person yesterday said no. And so I'm like replaying the conversation and why did they say no? And what could have I said differently? If I have a vision and I pull myself up and I look at my vision, I'm like, this is easier for me to feel less desperate or less needy energy because it's more about the vision that I want to create for my life, like my ultimate goal, which is to impact people, help people, serve people. My mission statement is to my goal is 7-figure a year entrepreneur. My mission statement is to leave everybody feeling better than I found them. So like I have these bigger, larger than myself goals that help me to separate from the needy or desperate energy, which leads into number 4, which is focusing on serving others. Tony Robbins said it so wonderfully one day. I don't remember where I heard it from or if I heard it quoted from somebody else, but his quote, I'm going to paraphrase, goes something like, serve others or help others get what they want and everything that you want will become yours. And I find that to be so powerful. And I even heard it in a mantra that I did this morning. So I was listening to a YouTube of mantras of I am statements. And one of them said, like, how can I serve the universe today was the mantra that I heard. And just instantaneously, when you think about helping other people, it takes the focus away from your own problems. It takes the focus away from like your suffering, what's going wrong in your life, and it turns it into how can you help somebody else? And that really, really, really helps me when I think about work, when I think about money, when I think about people saying yes, people saying no. If I reroute into service and how I can help people, how I can share my time, share my energy, share my gifts for people to benefit from, it releases all of the needy or desperate energy that I feel. And it allows me to focus on serving and on helping. And when I'm not focused on myself, then I can't be suffering. So the root of suffering is focusing on self, inevitably, right? And so when I'm focusing on how I can help other people, there's no space in my brain for how I'm suffering. Number 5. So fifth way, so again, to clear desperate or needy energy is to set the intention. And so this is a very tactical, very like a pivot thing that you can do in your day-to-day. So if you're about to go into a conversation with a client and you're thinking to yourself, I really want them to say yes, right? That's kind of like in the back of your mind. What I would encourage you to do is set a different intention for the meeting versus I want them to say yes. The intention can be, I want to connect with them. The intention can be, I want to be of service to them. The intention can be, I want to listen to them. The intention can be, I want to be present with them. Set a different intention and go into the conversation with renewed focus as to what you want to get out of the conversation. If the thought is, I want them to say yes, then if they say no, then you failed. Essentially, right? Unconscious mind is like, oh shit, we failed. And so it's going to try to do everything to get the person to say yes, which then creates this convincing energy, which we know is like really not an energy that is healthy or helpful, right? Have you ever been with a salesperson who's just trying to convince you of something and you're just like, whoa, the more you try to convince me, the more I'm like, fuck no. Like, it's just not going to happen, buddy. So we want to get out of that convincing energy, and we can do that by shifting the intention before we go into it. So this is a micro strategy pivot or a micro strategy idea before a meeting. So if you find yourself thinking or feeling like a little constricted, right? Like, ooh, really hope this person says yes, or ooh, really want this person, I really want this to go my way. Then take a moment and reassess the intention for the conversation. I'm here to connect with you. I'm here to be present with you. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to understand you versus I'm here to get you to say yes. Okay, that's not what we want. We don't want to get the person to say yes. We want to support them. We want to help them make a decision. That's the difference about sales. Number 6, the 6th way of clearing desperate or needy energy in your business is to get into the energy of receptivity. Get into the energy of receiving. How do you do that? Well, it's actually quite simple. You tap into gratitude. So one of the easiest ways of shifting needy or desperate energy is to shift away from that feeling and shifting into gratitude. And sometimes going from feeling needy, desperate, resentful, angry, all the way to gratitude is kind of a big jump. You might be sitting there thinking like, I'm really fucking needy right now. Like, you might not say those words exactly, but you might be feeling like kind of like maybe not 100%. And the thought of feeling grateful for something, you're just like, I can't fucking feel grateful, Scottie. Like, there's nothing to be grateful for. But if that is your reality at the moment where you're just not feeling it, then try number 2, meditate first for 5 or 10 minutes, and then step into gratitude. And the stepping into gratitude can start really small. So you can start being grateful for small things. I'm grateful that I'm breathing air. It might seem kind of silly. I'm grateful that I'm sitting in this chair. I'm grateful that my house has air conditioning in Florida. I'm grateful that I have this delicious latte that I get to drink. I'm grateful for my San Pellegrino sparkling water that I'm sipping on. I'm grateful for the candle that I'm burning. Like, it can be small pieces of gratitude that you can get behind versus I'm grateful I have so much money in the bank. If that doesn't feel true to you and you're like, that's not my fucking reality, then don't start with those big ones. I'm grateful this person's going to say yes. Well, you might not feel that right now, right? But if you can find small things to be grateful for, you'll start to change your brain chemistry. Your reticular activating system will start to activate, and it'll look for other things to be grateful for. And it's not possible to be grateful and feeling needy at the same time. So if we replace the feelings of neediness with feelings of gratitude and abundance and excitement and possibility and holy shoot, like all this stuff is coming in, I'm feeling so receptive, boom, you no longer feel needy or desperate or any type of sticky energy around it, right? So those are my 6 ways. So let's recap. Number 1, focus on activities. Don't focus on outcomes. This one is probably the most tactical and most useful on a day-to-day basis. If you're thinking about the end result, stop. And I say that with lots of love, but focus on the activities. You can control those. Number 2, meditate. Get into a receptive state. Know that your innate desire is to think positive thoughts. And so when you meditate, you will let your cork bob to the surface, which is your natural predisposition to being happy and joyful and excited. Number 3, have a vision for where you're going. Rather than looking at the past, where is it that you're going to? Don't think about the conversation you had yesterday that didn't go your way. What is it that you want to accomplish? What's bigger than you that you're moving towards? Number 4, focus on helping others rather than focusing on yourself, right? Tony Robbins said it best. In order to get everything that you want, help other people get everything that they want. Number 5, set an intention. This is a micro one. So before a meeting, when you're going into a conversation, set an intention. I want to connect. I want to be present. I want to be loving. I want to be understanding. And number 6, get into the energy of receptivity. Get into the energy of gratitude. Gratitude is the ultimate energy of receiving, of abundance, and by its nature, not needy, right? Having an abundant energy or an abundant mindset is literally the opposite of having a needy or desperate mindset or energy. Okay, my friends, I hope this was helpful for you, especially those advisors who feel like, oh, I really need this person to close, or if you're in some type of position where you're like, I really need that job, or I really need that partner, or I really want this person to say yes, or I really like, if that is your reality, if you feel those feelings, then just know they're repelling the things that you want, unfortunately. But good news is, on the Scottie Taylor Jr. podcast, we just went over 6 ways of clearing that energy. So now you have the opportunity to clear that energy and step into the most abundant, highest level, loving version of yourself. I don't know why I made that a tongue twister. I hope this is helpful, my friends. As always, I'm here for you. DM me on Instagram at Scottie Taylor Jr. or at the Financial Advisor Academy. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.